Hey guys, Telegram Sam here. If you don't already know, I have an Instagram. It's telegram_Sam_vinyl. So if you're on Instagram, check me out in there. But I did one of these videos a while back, and I just think it's even more important now because I feel like this last year has just been such a boom for record buying and collecting. It's been really cool to see, but with that strong demand, we have a lot of rising prices and even new records now. I'm surprised if I see any new record that's under $30. And a lot of old records that you used to be able to find in like the $3, $5 bins at your local record store are now like $15, $20. And I could see how intimidating that might be for either young newcomers that are sort of discovering vinyl, and older people getting back into it, thinking that it's inaccessible to them because of the price. But I'm doing another video showing 10 great records that you can find for $10 or less. You can still find these for super cheap, and they're all really great records that anyone should have in their collection. And this is just going off of the median price on Discogs. I know my last video where I did, people were like, oh, at my local record store they're selling that for like $20 and blah blah blah. It's just about knowing like where to look and where you're getting ripped off. I see, $5 records going for $20 just because it's Elton John or the Beatles or one of those big names. And plus now we have the lovely internet where you can find records for super cheap. So you still have options. You don't have to sell your organs on the black market to buy records and to start your own record collection. So here's just some 10 records I pulled from my collection that are just super great and cheap. First off, Panorama by the Cars. You can find a lot of the Cars discography, especially like original 80s or later 80s reissues. I think I paid like $7 for this. Anything by the Cars that you get is going to be fantastic. This is just currently the only Cars album I have in my collection. Not my favorite from them, but still a great album nonetheless. This has Touch and Go, Don't Tell Me No, Misfit Kid, You Wear Those Eyes, Up and Down. Again, just the Cars are just such an important pop, rock, early electronic group, and anyone should have anything by the Cars in their collection. So that's an easy go-to. Next up, a little bit of jazz. Just such a great sort of jazz supergroup. Pretty much everyone who plays on this album played with all the big names in jazz back in the day. This is Heavy Weather by Weather Report. Such a great jazz, world fusion album. This came out in the 70s. You can even hear a little bit of funk disco kind of, but it doesn't sound cheesy. Everyone is such a fantastic player, and you have the amazing Jaco Pastorius, who is probably one of the greatest bass players ever. There's a great documentary out called Jaco. I actually just recently got a book about him for Christmas. And this is just such a great record. And you also have Wayne Shorter on here. He's amazing. Just a really nice, cool, easy beginner listening if you're trying to get into jazz music. So a little bit country in this one. This is Ode to Billy Joe, not Billy Joel, by Bobby Gentry. Bobby Gentry was such a fantastic country folk singer-songwriter. She has such a soulful, silky voice, and this record is just amazing. You have Lazy Willie, Papa, Won't You Take Me to Town With You, Mississippi Delta, Ode to Billy Joel, An Angel Died, Bugs. I love that song. But yeah, Bobby Gentry is just very cheap, easy records to find from her. This one's just one of my favorites from her. But yeah, such an important voice in country music and the whole singer-songwriter genre. Next, we're going a little funky. This is the self-titled debut from Graham Central Station. You have the amazing Larry Graham just slapping the bass on this. He Originally played with Sly and the Family Stone, but after some, in-band fighting, he decided to leave and start his own group. I think later on he even played on some Prince albums in the 80s and 90s. So he is such a great, fantastic bass player, and this album is just such a funk classic. You have the iconic song Hair on here, just that opening bass craziness that he does on that song is just so killer. I think I got this for like $4 maybe, and it's like looks brand new. It's his original 70s press. And this came out in 74. Yeah, 74. Such a killer album, super cheap. I think this is probably the newest album that I'm going to be showing in this lot of records, but this is Sex with an X by the Vaselines. This is a great Irish duo, pop rock, indie alternative, I would say. They're just classics. They put their album Dum Dum out in the late 80s, I think it was 88 or 89, and then they went on a bit of hiatus, and this was their second album that came out in 2010. But they were so influential, especially to bands like Nirvana. I think on Nirvana's Unplugged album, they played like 2 or 3 of their songs. So yeah, such a great album. This is actually probably my favorite Vaselines album out of the 3 they've released. But you have Sex with an X, Ruined, The Devil's Inside Me. That is a killer song. It's sort of like this slow, like raunchy, like bluesy song, which is very out of character for them, but I just love that song. Also, the song I Hate the 80s, that one's really funny. My God's Bigger Than Your God, and then Mouth to Mouth. I mean, I just cannot recommend this album enough, and just anything by the Vaselines is just super killer. Going with a rock classic here. I think I might have shown another record by Bruce Springsteen in my last video, but this is just such a classic. This is Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen. Probably my favorite Bruce Springsteen album. It had been a while since I listened to this, and I recently just put this on late at night, and it just like hit the spot. Just like every song on here is just perfect. I mean, you have 10th Avenue Freeze Out, Thunder Road, Backstreet's Born to Run, She's the One, and then it ends on Jungle Land, which is just such an epic of a song. And Clarence Clemens' saxophone solo on that song is just so legendary. And yeah, this is just such a killer album. It still has the price sticker from when I first got it. $3, and that's pretty much the median price on Discogs for one of these 70s pressings. So there's no excuse to not have this in your collection. Next up, a bit of soul. We got I Was Made to Love Her by Stevie Wonder. I mean, anything by Stevie Wonder you're never going to be disappointed by. I personally prefer his 70s work, but even his later 60s work, when he was still kind of Little Stevie and sort of seen as this, soul prodigy. But yeah, I love this album. Anything by Stevie Wonder you get is going to be fantastic, and I think even his 70s stuff you can still get for pretty cheap, but I just recently got this, and I just love this so much. Gotta love Stevie, you gotta have him in your collection. Next up, a little bit of glam rock. We got Mott by Mott the Hoople. Mott the Hoople was one of like the big bands that came out of the whole British glam rock scene. This is a fantastic album from them. You have all the way from Memphis, Violence, Driving Sister, I'm Michaela, El Camino Doloroso, I Wish I Was Your Mother. I mean, you just can't go wrong with anything by Mott the Hoople, in my opinion. And Ian Hunter is just such a genius. Next up, we have one of my favorite Bob Dylan albums, but this is the soundtrack he did for Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. It is more of an instrumental album. He doesn't do a lot of singing on here, but the instrumentals are very like Western folk. I just love it, and of course this is the album that has his song Knocking on Heaven's Door on it. I just love that song. I told my mom if I were to die before her, because you know how like they can press your ashes into vinyl. I told her I want side A to have Bob Dylan's version of Knock on Heaven's Door and Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum on the B side. So I just love this album. One of my favorite Dylan albums. I'm not the biggest Dylan fan. I'm still kind of getting into him, but you just can never go wrong with this album. And last but not least, a power pop new wave classic. This is My Aim Is True by Elvis Costello. There's a lot of different versions of these albums because he had a lot of different color schemes, and the back cover also had a lot of different color schemes, and some of the color schemes go for more, but this is one of the cheaper ones. I think I paid like $7 for this, but this is just such a classic. I think this was his first album, but man, just great new wave pop rock. You have Welcome to the Working Week. Allison, that's just such a nice, beautiful like ballad. Watching the Detective has kind of a reggae feel to it. The Angels Won't Wear My Red Shoes, Less Than Zero, Pay It Back, Waiting for the End of the World. Just such a classic and such an essential that should be in like everyone's record collection. But yeah, that was just some great records that you can find for $10 or less. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.